go right ahead.
We're going.
We're set? Okay, all right. We are, the Parks Committee is now in session. And got the roll call. We've got Alder Presley,
Here.
Alder DeLee,
Here.
Alder Weary is not present, and Alder Eck is here. So if you don't mind, we stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Looking for an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Seconded.
Okay. Motion approved by Alder DeLee, seconded by Alder Presley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that passes. Approval of the minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder DeLee. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that passes. All right, let's get started on this really long agenda. All right, regular business. Consideration with possible action on the approval of a design, construction, and dedication agreement with the Friends of Bay Beach Amusement Park for the construction of the West End Train Expansion Project.
Yes.
Director?
So yeah, if you recall, a few months ago, we accepted a donation of some trains from the Friends of Bay Beach Amusement Park. They were a donation from the Memphis Zoo, or they purchased them from the Memphis Zoo, and they're larger trains. So as part of that donation, we need to do some modifications to the track alignment. So they're bigger trains, so therefore we have to replace all of the tracks in order to accommodate those trains. And when I say replace the train tracks, what I mean is they have to widen them because the wheelbase is wider, and then the turning radius is greater, so they can't make the same turns that the previous trains made. So as part of that, we have to replace all of the tracks. The station for the West End station won't work anymore because it's too tight of a radius. So the existing station has to be moved to a slightly different location. In addition, we would like to build a second station on the far west end over by the new playground. And we would like to build a small bathroom facility over by the playground that is ADA compliant. And the Friends would like to donate that to the city and pay for all construction costs related to that. So they're currently under a capital campaign to fundraise for it. If you take a look at the graphics that I attached to the agenda packet, the second graphic shows probably a better idea of what we're proposing to do than the first graphic, but you can see on there they're close to meeting their fundraising goal. It's a $1.25 million construction project, of which they've raised close to $1 million. So they're on the end of their fundraising efforts. So now what they'd like to do is start coordinating the actual installation of these items. And per our agreements with these user groups, we do allow them to hire their own contractors, supervise the construction, as long as they pay for it entirely. If the city throws any money into the pot for it, then it becomes a public bid project where we have to go through Public Works to engineer it and do formal construction documents and bid it out. So what we do is we have the law department draft an agreement, which in essence gives them the approval to hire the contractors and manage the project. So I included also in the agenda packet the draft agreement. That agreement was reviewed by the law department and the Friends of Bay Beach, and also by park staff. We're agreeable to it, but it's very similar to other agreements we've had with them. So we did a very similar agreement with the construction of the ADA compliant playground that was just installed. That was also a Friends of Bay Beach Amusement construction project. So we used that as the template, and really nothing changed except for the scope of work and the dates. But all of the minute details about insurance limits and city's review and approval of the projects, that all stayed the same as far as previous contracts go. So in order for them to hire a contractor to start the work, we do have to authorize this agreement and approve it.
So and I was gonna, I had looked through that, but is it, it will be constructed, then they donate it, or they're donating it on the front end?
How the agreement is written is, it's under the Friends of Bay Beach Amusement Park has ownership of all of the construction until the project is completed, at which point we'll do a site inspection and approve that it's completed. If there's final punch list items that need to be done on that review, we'll give them that list and say these items need to be done before we'll accept final ownership of the improvements. But once we accept ownership of it, it's ours to own and maintain, and the Friends kind of step out of the picture at that point.
Okay, any questions?
So are we replacing the trains that are currently there?
So we are not replacing the trains entirely, so we have another track on the east end behind the pavilion. That track can accommodate all of our old trains that we have.
Okay.
So all of our trains that we had before we bought these new ones will now only work on that set of train tracks. And the only trains that will work on this west end train are the new trains that were donated recently.
And this is the loop that goes by the Zip and Pippin?
Yep, this goes
down to
past the Zip and Pippin. It won't go under the Zip and Pippin anymore because we can't make that turning radius. But it'll go, along the river or along the bay.
And there's
continue out to the playground.
There's 2 new trains, or?
What was donated was 2 engines and 2 passenger cars.
Oh.
One engine is working, the other one is a parts train engine, but our goal is to replace all the parts that are missing and make that a working engine also. We haven't done that work yet, that's what we'll be working on this winter, but we hope to have 2 working engines, when we open
Very
next
cool.
year or shortly thereafter. And then if we ever want to run 2 trains at one time, we can just buy more passenger cars.
Any other questions? Okay, so basically it would be kind of one is sitting while the other is running, and they would have a spare for the engine.
For the engine, one will be in storage, and once it's working, we'll only pull it out when the other one breaks down or we're doing maintenance checks on it. But we always like to have 2 working engines so that if there is a breakdown, we can just get the ride up and running very quickly, and we can then repair the other engine at our leisure.
Is anybody here to speak on it?
We have staff members here, but I don't know if he wants to say anything. Jason, do you have anything to add?
No, I just think it's a great project for bringing people into the park from the new playground, and I think everyone will enjoy it. And it's a lot more accommodating to people my size than our old trains, so that'll be nice too. And it's ADA compatible, so that'll help a lot.
And for those of you who don't know Jason, he is our supervisor out at Bay Beach Amusement Park, so he manages and runs Bay Beach Amusement Park.
Okay, well, nice to meet you. Anybody, I'm looking for a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Move to approve by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder DeLee. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that passes. So number 2, consideration with possible action on the approval of an ordinance creating section, excuse me, 28-8 of the Green Bay Municipal Code relating to selling fermented malt beverages in public parks. And this is because the number's different.
And I'll defer to James to kick off the discussion, and then we have the law department here to answer questions.
Yeah, so as some of you may have heard, there's going to be a draft, an NFL draft next spring in Green Bay. And that's kind of what kicked off this conversation initially. I mean, we've had conversations about, alcohol or fermented malt beverages, I guess as they call it in the parks, and things like that with different things, and different communities do this quite often. But in terms of why we kind of kicked off this conversation with this is just, it started with kind of some of the draft discussions and some of the activities or events that we're looking to do during the draft. And So this would allow essentially any, city official, staff, person to sell alcohol. So it's a state, and maybe our law department can expand on this more if you'd like, but our state has where you can sell if you're a staff member, but this actually, we needed authorization from council to be able to do that. So that's what this ordinance does, it allows us to sell within public parks.
Okay, and I kind of started to ask questions prior to you getting here earlier before the meeting, so I'll just kind of back up. Right now, we don't really have like concession, like, there aren't too many parks that have that, so how is that gonna look as far as selling it in the parks? In which parks? Is there particular parks you're looking at?
Well, we're looking to maybe try out, before the draft even, maybe find an event, or maybe it's a concert in the park that we test out this and kind of work out some of the kinks prior to the draft. But essentially, we could set up it anywhere. So whether that's setting, at one of our shelters currently, or it's maybe setting up a tent, or bringing in, something that we could then sell out of,
So kind of a pop-up tent.
yeah, example would be if we did a concert, I know Alder we talked about, having maybe some concerts in the park next year. And maybe it's just a pop-up, tent where we could have some beer sales, or fermented malt beverages, sales in the park, as part of that event. Or maybe it's a concert on one of the nights out at Bay Beach, where we could have a grassroots band out there and just have some options available for people and make some revenue.
Yeah, and really, we're kicking this off primarily for the draft. We would like to set up some sort of a beer tent of some kind to bring in revenue for the city at certain events. So it's a good way to bring in some revenues for us for the draft. But then by creating this ordinance, we can then carry it on to other things as they come up. So we have no preconceived notions of which parks and which activities we're going to do this at. Like James said, we would like to do a trial somewhere before the draft, so we get all the bugs worked out in advance. And we haven't decided which event that's going to be yet. But then after the draft, we'll just see where this takes us, and how often we do it, and which parks and which events still have yet to be discussed and determined.
Our John Muir Park is one of the closest to the stadium, if we're looking at that. I'm just a thought. Not that I don't care one way or the other, but that was just something that popped in my head. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, a couple.
Alder Presley?
So how does the logistics of this work in terms of, because people wouldn't be able to leave the park with that beverage then, would they? Or do they have to stay in the park? I don't know the legality of the open container.
Yeah, so yes, they're still gonna have to be in the park. There's no open intoxicants, so they would have to be limited to that area. Yeah, it would be confined.
Okay, gotcha. All right, yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Any other? No? Okay.
And then just for clarification, I know I talked to some of you before the meeting, but I handed out this piece of paper, and there's some numbers at the top that are highlighted in yellow. The packet, the information that's in the agenda packet has a different number, and so the one in the packet is incorrect. The one with the highlighted numbers in yellow is the correct version, and what we'll be doing is in the council packet, we will put this correct version in the council packet agenda.
I noticed just it was 21 in the pack, 21-24 instead of 23. So I'm, excuse me, looking for, what are your wishes?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second?
All right, Alder Zilli makes a motion to approve, and seconded by Alder Presley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that is approved. And so these items will be going to council next Tuesday. And now we go into informational director's report.
Yeah, and really I don't have a lot to add other than what's in the report, other than, most of our summer events are done, and we're winding down into fall activities and kind of gearing up for the winter months. So definitely changing approaches, and it's nice that we made it through another summer and we were fully staffed, and it was a pretty eventful summer and very successful. But we're also happy that it's over with and we can move on, so. Other than that, I don't have a lot to add.
Well, I do have a question.
Yes.
How's it looking for the snowmaking machine and all of the infrastructure for that?
So we have the equipment, so we have the snow cannons and we have the groomer. We will not have the infrastructure installed prior to the season. There's various reasons why that didn't happen, and I can talk to you one-on-one in regards to that if you have questions. But we are developing a game plan so that when it becomes cold enough, you know, the first cold stretch we have, we can haul the equipment out there and make snow so that, you know, we can take advantage of the cold weather and make snow and then just move everything back to the park shop. What that means is we'll get as much snow made as we can very quickly in the season, but it'll be throughout the rest of the year, we'll have to just kind of wing it. And when we're able to haul the equipment over, we will and make snow, but if we're not, then we'll just have to kind of miss out on that snowmaking timeline. But we really want to get a good snow base early in the season as quickly as possible. And we're gonna gear towards that. And the reason we weren't able to do it last year is we didn't have the groomer in time for the cold spell. So we received the groomer like right in the middle, towards the end of a cold spell, and then we never got another cold spell after that the rest of the season. So we lost our opportunity, our window of opportunity, because we didn't have the equipment delivered in time. But hopefully this year will be a different story.
Yeah, the weather, hate to complain about not being cold enough, but it was like it just didn't work out. Well, I'll touch base with you later on the whole
Sure.
infrastructure not being ready. A little disappointed about that. Okay, so just need to
I move to adjourn.
no,
Oh, receive and place on
receive and
file.
place on file. I don't know why else and I couldn't think of it.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, motion to receive and place on file by Alder
Second.
Presley, second by Alder Delete. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, and that is received and placed on file. And our next meeting is September 25th. And now,
I move to adjourn.
Alder Presley moves to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Alder Delete, and all those in favor say aye.
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 And we are now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Says we can join it. Can we join the